Every day you wake up in the morning is a gift. Yesterday was not guaranteed. Tomorrow is not owed. Today is all you have. Every night someone goes to sleep for the last time, taking their final breath, meeting the fate we will all meet. The Stoics would remind themselves of this reality often, not to darken their mood, but to empower themselves. They understood that life's fragility sharpens focus. It awakens urgency. It turns every passing moment into a call to live deliberately. The present moment is the only ground we stand on. It is the only time where action can be taken, where choices can be made, and where life is lived. The past has passed. The future is uncertain. What you have is now. Even if you have fallen behind or failed before, today gives you another chance. The Stoics knew this was a privilege, even if that privilege lasted just one more day. That was enough to live with purpose. People often act as if tomorrow is certain. It is not. They assume there will always be another opportunity, another season, another chance to correct their course. This thinking leads to hesitation and delay. When we truly realize how fragile life is, we stop postponing. We begin to act. We take our health seriously. We build strength in body and mind. We treat each moment as training for the soul. You must hear this, and hear it often, because no matter how committed we are, we drift. We fall into ease, into comfort, into distraction. The Stoic does not deny these slips. They accept them as part of the human condition, but they do not stay down. They rise, adjust, and return to the path. That is the work. That is the way. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The urgency of the present. Life is brief. The span of an average human life is a fleeting moment when compared to the vast timeline of history. Civilizations rise and fall in the time it takes for a few generations to pass. Names that were once known across nations are now forgotten. The Stoics kept this reality in front of their minds every day. They called it memento mori, remember that you will die. It was not meant to paralyze them, but to sharpen their focus on the present. They understood that death is inevitable, but wasting life is a choice. By reflecting on life's shortness, they cultivated the habit of living fully in the days they were given. Every goal you set and every plan you make rests on the assumption that there will be time to accomplish them. Yet this assumption is fragile, easily disrupted by life's unpredictability. Delays become comfortable when you convince yourself that there will always be another day, that the future will be patient and forgiving. Time itself is indifferent to your readiness. It moves steadily forward, regardless of your intentions, and each day lost cannot be retrieved. The Stoics understood this with absolute clarity, which is why they placed such emphasis on immediate action. If there is a duty that needs to be fulfilled, it should be done without hesitation. If there is a wrong to be corrected, correction should not be postponed. If there is a beginning to be made, it must start now, in the present, without waiting for ideal conditions that may never arrive. In practice, this requires taking full ownership of each day, as though it were your final opportunity to shape the course of your life. It means waking with purpose, rising early so your mornings are not surrendered to lethargy or aimless drifting. It means focusing on completing your work with efficiency and precision so that it does not spill unnecessarily into the hours meant for rest, reflection, or connection with others. It means dedicating time to those you value while you still have the opportunity, knowing that their lives, like yours, are equally subject to the passing of time. Each day can be seen as fertile ground, ready to be cultivated. The longer you delay planting, the smaller the harvest you can expect to reap. The crops of tomorrow are planted in the hours of today. To live with urgency is to eliminate the habit of half effort and passive intention. It is to direct energy toward what is essential rather than scattering it across the trivial or meaningless. It is to give your complete attention and presence to whatever is before you, whether that is your work, your learning, your rest, or your time with others. Urgency is not frantic movement or constant busyness. It is the discipline of staying attentive and committed to the task at hand, understanding that your time is a finite resource that will not be replenished once spent. Removing the word later from your vocabulary is an act of self-liberation, strengthening your ability to live with intention and clarity. Each day lived with this awareness is a day that fulfills its purpose fully. Chapter 2. The Discipline of the Body. The Stoics understood that the mind cannot operate at its highest level if the body is left in a state of weakness or neglect. They viewed the body as the base upon which the mind rests, a foundation that must be strong, stable, and capable of enduring strain. A neglected body burdens the mind, slows thought, and dulls judgment. For this reason, Stoics trained themselves not only in philosophy, but in physical discipline. They walked long distances, tested their endurance in heat and cold, and built the habit of living without the constant pursuit of comfort. By exposing themselves to challenging conditions, they trained resilience. Comfort was never allowed to become a master over them. They sought to shape a body that could serve the demands of a disciplined mind without hesitation or complaint. A healthy, capable body sharpens the clarity of thought. Consistent physical movement, deliberate training, and restorative rest have a direct influence on mood, mental energy, and the ability to stay composed in pressure. These benefits are not speculative, they are experienced. Anyone who has felt the alertness and focus that comes after sustained physical exertion has witnessed the link between body and mind. For the Stoics, exercise was not an exercise in vanity or appearance. It was an essential preparation for the challenges of life. Physical discipline built readiness, enabling them to meet difficulties with energy, poise, and endurance. They believed that neglecting the body was equivalent to leaving the mind unprepared for the demands of life. Modern life works against this principle. Hours spent in stillness, sitting at desks, in cars, or in front of screens erode vitality. Breathing becomes shallow, posture collapses, and energy fades. Over time, both body and mind grow sluggish. The Stoic approach directly challenges this trend. Movement is a form of medicine. Training the body daily is a responsibility, a form of self-respect, and a way to ensure preparedness for whatever challenges arise. Even small acts of movement throughout the day, walking instead of sitting, stretching between periods of work, taking the stairs, can sharpen alertness and maintain energy. For the Stoics, physical activity was not optional. It was part of the discipline of living well. Temperance was also central to their philosophy, especially when it came to consumption. Heavy, processed, and excessive foods slow the body and create fatigue. Overindulgence in sugar, alcohol, or stimulants disrupts the natural balance of energy and focus. A mind seeking stability cannot operate at its best when the body is in a state of imbalance. The Stoics approached eating with moderation, neither indulging recklessly nor depriving themselves harshly. They understood that discipline in eating habits was directly connected to discipline in thought. By maintaining balanced and nourishing meals, they preserved both their physical strength and their mental clarity. For the Stoics, mastery of the body was inseparable from mastery of the mind. The daily practices of movement, balanced nourishment, and restorative rest were not luxuries. They were disciplines as important as study, reflection, and moral decision-making. Each habit reinforced resilience. Each deliberate choice strengthened both body and mind. To them, preparing the body was not a separate task from preparing the soul. It was part of the same work. A mind that commands itself rests on a body that can endure, move, and support it. By cultivating physical discipline, the Stoics built the capacity to face life's demands with energy, steadiness, and unshakable resolve. Chapter 3. Temperance in Desire. Desire fuels much of what people do, but the Stoics saw clearly that when desire is left unchecked, it can weaken the will and distort judgment. This applies to obvious physical cravings, overeating, lust, intoxication, but also to subtle, easily overlooked urges, such as the hunger for constant entertainment, the compulsion to check notifications repeatedly, or the unending search for approval from others. These desires, whether coarse or refined, have the same effect. They distract the mind from what is essential and erode self-command. In modern life, the reach of desire has multiplied. Technology delivers immediate access to indulgence. Food can be ordered and delivered in minutes. Entire days can be consumed by digital entertainment or endless scrolling. Instant gratification is the default, and waiting has become rare. The mind, if untrained, adjusts to this constant stream of stimulation until it expects pleasure without effort and distraction without pause. The Stoic rejects this drift. They do not label pleasure as evil, but they are unwilling to be ruled by it. Their goal is to preserve the freedom to choose. They train themselves so that desire is a servant, not a master. The path to this mastery is built on deliberate practice. It means cultivating the ability to delay gratification, to feel an urge rise within and choose not to obey it immediately. It means intentionally stepping back from indulgence, even when it is easily available, so that the will remains sharp. It also means confronting discomfort rather than avoiding it, accepting the unease of hunger between meals, the restlessness of sitting in silence, or the effort of work without reward in sight. Each of these moments strengthens the ability to act from reason rather than impulse. Practical examples are essential in this training. Choosing to avoid explicit material shields the mind from unhealthy conditioning and keeps imagination under your command. Abstaining from excessive alcohol preserves mental clarity and prevents decisions from being clouded. Refusing recreational drugs strengthens the will by removing dependency on artificial states. Even small acts of temperance, such as resisting the urge to snack when you are not truly hungry, sharpen self-discipline. Each decision becomes a repetition in the exercise of self-control. The Stoics taught that temperance is not mere restriction. It is a form of power. When you are no longer a captive to your desires, you gain the freedom to act with deliberation. You decide when to pursue pleasure and when to set it aside, and this choice is guided by reason rather than compulsion. In this state, your desires align with your values instead of competing against them. Temperance gives you the ability to direct your life according to what is best, rather than what is easiest or most immediately satisfying. To live this way is to live with steadiness. Your mind is not pulled in every direction by passing urges. Your actions are not determined by whatever temptation appears in front of you. The Stoics saw this as real freedom, the kind that cannot be taken away because it is rooted in mastery over oneself. Chapter 4. The Strength of Endurance. The Stoics measured strength in terms of resilience rather than physical power. They valued the ability to carry the weight of life without letting it crush the mind or corrupt the spirit. For them, true strength was measured by how much a person could face without surrendering their principles or composure. Endurance was the defining quality of a steadfast character. To endure is to meet hardship without collapse, to keep the mind calm while events around you turn chaotic. It is the ability to hold firm even when the outcome is uncertain and the path ahead is difficult. Life will present obstacles in many forms. There will be rejection in personal and professional pursuits that can test your resolve. There will be losses that strike deeply, leaving emotional wounds that take time to heal. There will be stretches where every effort seems to lead nowhere, and days when the path ahead is clouded by uncertainty. Progress will sometimes be slow, hidden, or nearly invisible. These trials will arrive without warning, and no life is exempt from them. The Stoic accepts this truth and prepares for it in advance. They understand that challenge is woven into existence. They meet difficulty as a necessary training ground for the soul, where patience is stretched, fortitude is strengthened, and clarity is sharpened. Each hardship is treated as a lesson, an opportunity to prove the stability of their character. Endurance is an active and deliberate force. It is the continual decision to move forward when the initial momentum has faded and the road ahead feels longer than expected. It is the inner strength that resists the gradual pull of hopelessness and the silent temptation to step away from the struggle. Endurance is the repeated application of steady effort, even when no progress is visible and no external reward seems close. It is the commitment to maintain your principles even when they bring no immediate recognition or benefit. To endure demands a disciplined mind that does not turn against itself in the face of prolonged difficulty. The Stoic prepares for this state by meeting smaller discomforts with measured composure, working through minor setbacks, accepting delays without bitterness, and tolerating both physical and mental strain with stability, so that greater trials can be faced with the same resilience. The development of endurance is a gradual process that unfolds within the ordinary structure of daily life, shaped by countless small choices made consistently over time. It shows itself in the act of rising early, despite the heavy pull of rest, resisting the comfort of staying still. It is in choosing to honor commitments on days when energy feels low and motivation is absent, proving to yourself that discipline outweighs mood. It is in taking the next step forward, even when the outcome is uncertain and the path unclear, trusting that progress is built one measured action at a time. It is in finishing a task that has lost its initial spark, when novelty has faded and only perseverance remains. It is in maintaining a steady direction when difficulties arise, refusing to let discouragement take control or tempt you into abandoning the work. Each of these decisions strengthens the habit of persistence. In the same way, repeated training strengthens a muscle, creating a reflex of determination that activates without hesitation. Over weeks, months, and years, these repeated acts form a deep foundation that does not easily break, even under heavy strain. Endurance grows through steady exposure to discomfort and the choice to keep moving despite it. By showing up each day, whether the conditions are favorable or not, you teach yourself that your will is stronger than passing feelings. Through sustained practice, endurance reshapes your relationship with hardship. Situations that once created a sense of being overwhelmed begin to feel possible to navigate, and tasks that once seemed too large now appear as manageable steps. Change, even when sudden and unwelcome, has less influence over your stability. Uncertainty and disruption lose much of their ability to trigger confusion, panic, or paralysis. You begin to carry a quiet assurance that you can stand firm no matter what arrives. The calm you hold under pressure is built through long, consistent effort, forged in daily acts of showing up, persisting, and refusing to collapse into resignation. The Stoic develops endurance not to escape the trials of life, but to move through them with clarity, steadiness, and self-command. Endurance becomes a shield for the will, allowing you to remain upright when others falter under strain. It is both a form of protection and a deep reservoir of strength, built choice by choice until it becomes inseparable from your character and as natural to you as breathing. Chapter 5. The power of reflection. The Stoics valued reflection as much as action. They saw it as an essential practice for directing life with intention. Without regular reflection, errors become embedded in behavior, and lessons from experience are missed. The evening was often treated as a sacred time for review, where one could examine the events of the day in quiet honesty. They would ask themselves questions designed to bring clarity. What did I do well today? Where did I fall short? How can I take even one step toward improvement tomorrow? This process was not an exercise in dwelling on mistakes, but a deliberate method of steering the mind and life in a chosen direction. Reflection trains the mind to see reality with greater precision. It sharpens perception so you can distinguish between what truly matters and what is noise. It exposes the hidden patterns in thought, mood, and behavior that otherwise pass unnoticed. These patterns can be constructive, leading you towards stability and progress, or they can be harmful, pulling you repeatedly into the same traps. Without reflection, the harmful patterns remain invisible, repeating in the background until they become habits too ingrained to challenge easily. But with deliberate observation, you begin to see how certain situations, people, or environments consistently lead you toward poor decisions, wasted time, or unnecessary conflict. Recognizing these connections allows you to act ahead of time, preventing problems before they arise rather than reacting after the damage is done. This foresight is one of the most valuable outcomes of steady reflection. It is also how personal values remain active and present in your daily life, instead of becoming ideas you claim to believe yet fail to live by. Reflection keeps these values vivid and near the surface, so that when pressure, temptation, or distraction comes, they guide your choices. The practice itself does not need to be elaborate. It can be as small as writing a few sentences in a journal at the end of the day, capturing the lessons, realizations, and warnings that would otherwise vanish overnight. Over time, this becomes a record of your growth, a mirror showing how you have changed and where you still resist change. Another form is silent recollection, sitting quietly and mentally replaying the day from beginning to end. This reveals moments of genuine strength, where you acted in alignment with your principles, as well as moments of weakness, where you strayed or hesitated. The more consistently you do this, the more accurate your self-assessment becomes. Weeks of this practice begin to form a detailed map of your personal tendencies. You see how one small choice, whether disciplined or careless, can lead to a chain of consequences. You see how often your best days follow a strong morning, or how your worst moods emerge after a poor night's rest, unhealthy indulgence, or neglected obligations. This insight makes life less random and more understandable. Over time, the link between reflection and deliberate action becomes clear. Because you have trained yourself to notice the first signs of frustration, distraction, or hesitation, you can interrupt them early, before they turn into words you regret, wasted hours, or missed opportunities. This is one of the great powers of reflection. It creates space between feeling and action. That space is where reason lives. Instead of being pulled along by momentum, you have the ability to slow down, choose, and act with intention. This strengthens decision-making, especially in situations where you once reacted impulsively. You begin to rely less on luck and more on the skill of self-command. Over time, this becomes a reinforcing cycle. You observe your actions, adjust them in light of your values, and see improvement. This improvement then motivates further reflection, deepening the habit. The more you practice, the more life begins to feel intentional rather than reactive. Instead of feeling swept along by events, you sense that you are actively shaping the direction of your days. You begin to anticipate outcomes because you have studied the cause and effect patterns of your own behavior. This foresight changes the way you approach challenges. You meet them with readiness instead of surprise. Even in uncertain or chaotic situations, you carry a sense of inner steadiness because you trust your ability to learn from every experience and adapt. In this way, reflection is both a shield and a tool. It protects you from repeating the same errors blindly and equips you to make wiser choices in the future. This habit, though small in time commitment, produces long-term benefits that compound with practice. 10 minutes of review each evening may seem insignificant, but over years it reshapes your understanding of yourself and the way you live. It strengthens judgment, reinforces values, and sharpens the link between intention and action. It also builds quiet confidence, the assurance that you are not moving through life in a fog, but with open eyes and a steady hand on the direction you choose to take. In the Stoic view, this is one of the highest forms of personal discipline, the ongoing commitment to see clearly, live deliberately, and make each day a lesson in the art of living well. Chapter 6. Guarding the Inner Fortress. The mind is the central stronghold of the Stoic. Everything in life, every event, every interaction, every word spoken, passes through it before it ever reaches you. The Stoics understood that the mind is not simply a place where thoughts appear. It is the filter through which reality itself is interpreted. If this stronghold is left vulnerable, the entire person becomes vulnerable. That is why guarding the mind is the highest form of self-defense. Without this vigilance, the outer world easily gains influence over you, bending your emotions and twisting your actions. An insult, a rumor, or even an offhand comment can set you on a path of resentment, anger, or regret. In those moments, you become reactive, and your principles lose their place as your guide. But when the gates of the mind are watched closely, nothing enters without being examined. You filter every impression through reason before allowing it to affect you. This is the practice of protecting your mental state as if it were your most valuable possession, because it is the source from which all decisions, actions, and responses flow. To keep this fortress secure, you must be deliberate about what you let through its gates. This is not about closing yourself off from life. It is about choosing the quality of what you allow in. Guarding the mind means controlling your exposure to harmful and destructive influences. It means being aware of how your inputs shape your thinking. Every conversation you engage in, every piece of media you consume, every relationship you maintain has an influence. Some will strengthen your mind, others will weaken it. Negative voices, constant drama, and reckless opinions can settle into your thoughts like seeds, quietly growing until they shape your reactions and beliefs. The Stoics would remind you that the tone of your mind will often mirror the tone of your environment. If you surround yourself with chaos, cynicism, or constant distraction, you will carry those qualities within you. The discipline lies in designing your surroundings with care so that they consistently reflect and reinforce your values. This is an active process that often involves removing influences that chip away at your clarity. It can mean stepping back from conversations that dwell in gossip, hostility, or shallow judgment, even if they are common in your social circles. It can mean deliberately reducing your exposure to media that thrives on fear, outrage, or constant sensationalism. It may require setting thoughtful but firm boundaries with people who habitually drain your focus, disrupt your calm, or provoke unnecessary emotional turbulence. In making these choices, you begin to shape an environment that supports your growth rather than undermines it. You reduce the number of mental battles you must fight each day, freeing yourself from unnecessary friction. You make clarity the natural baseline rather than something you must fight to regain. You make peace the steady state rather than a temporary reprieve. With fewer distractions and intrusions on your attention, you can direct your energy toward pursuits, relationships, and work that align with your deeper purpose. With time, this discipline shifts from something you consciously maintain into something that flows naturally. The habits you establish start to operate automatically, so you instinctively avoid what destabilizes your mind and gravitate toward what strengthens it. You may find yourself less reactive to sudden events, less entangled in the noise of the world, and less likely to be pulled into cycles of pointless debate or emotional turmoil. Your emotional state becomes steadier, your focus more precise, and your principles more firmly anchored. This is the quiet, enduring strength the Stoics cultivated, a mind so well defended that no passing storm can breach its walls. It is not isolation from life's realities, but deliberate preparation to meet them on your terms. It is the lasting power that comes from knowing the strongest and most reliable fortress you will ever build is the one you construct within yourself. Chapter 7. Discipline over distraction. In the modern world, distraction is constant and unrelenting. It surrounds you in the form of endless notifications, messages, alerts, advertisements, and the persistent pull of digital entertainment. Every vibration of a phone, every flashing icon, every headline promises something urgent, yet most of it has no lasting value. While the Stoics never faced the pull of smartphones or the constant hum of online life, they understood deeply the danger of an unfocused mind. They knew that a person who cannot direct their attention will be at the mercy of whatever clamors loudest for it. Without discipline, you are pulled from one task to the next without intention, exhausting your mind and diluting your efforts. The Stoic path calls for mastery of attention. Discipline over distraction means not only resisting interruptions, but also choosing deliberately where your focus will rest. This is an active process, not a passive one. Each scattered moment is a missed opportunity to cultivate strength of mind, to build skill, or to deepen understanding. Every time you allow your attention to be fractured, you lose momentum in the work that truly matters to you. Over time, this erosion of focus weakens your capacity for deep thought and meaningful accomplishment. The first step toward discipline is clarity. You must decide what matters most in your life and place those priorities above all else. Without this clarity, your attention will be claimed by whatever is nearest, loudest, or most familiar. Once you have chosen your priorities, you must protect them fiercely. That means refusing to dilute your focus by chasing too many things at once. It means being willing to step away from low-value activity, even when it is tempting in the moment. From there, train yourself to engage fully with one task, one conversation, or one thought at a time. The mind grows stronger through deep work and sustained attention, much like a muscle strengthens with repeated, deliberate use. Each time you resist the urge to switch tasks unnecessarily, you add another layer to your ability to remain anchored in what truly matters. You learn to weather the discomfort of monotony, to press through the initial resistance that tempts you toward easier distractions. This repeated act of choosing to stay builds mental stamina and sharpens clarity. Over time, the scattered noise of competing demands loses its hold on you. This practice restores order to your mind and purpose to your actions, allowing you to meet each moment with precision rather than haste. You begin to live each day with a deliberate rhythm instead of being swept along by the constant pull of external demands. In the long run, the ability to focus becomes one of the most potent forms of power you can possess. A calm, steady mind accomplishes more in fewer hours than a restless and scattered one achieves in days. When your attention is anchored, every action is deliberate, and every choice carries weight. You work with precision instead of haste, ensuring that each effort moves you closer to your goals. In this state, you can develop new skills with greater depth because your energy is not divided. You can immerse yourself fully in a subject, a craft or a discipline, absorbing its details until it becomes second nature. You can solve complex problems without being pulled into cycles of overthinking or frustration because your mind is free from unnecessary noise. Even in moments of uncertainty, your composure allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This calm precision unsettles those who depend on speed, force, or constant motion to feel in control, because your strength is quiet and enduring. The Stoics would call this true freedom, the mastery of your own mind. It is the ability to choose what receives your attention, regardless of what competes for it. This freedom is not given, it is earned through repeated acts of discipline. It is built by resisting the pull of trivial distractions and placing your focus on what aligns with your values. It is reinforced each time you remain with a task until it is complete, each time you turn away from what does not serve your growth, and each time you commit fully to the present moment. When you claim this freedom, you do far more than manage your thoughts in the moment. You begin to take ownership of the entire arc of your life. You actively reclaim authority over your direction, ensuring that it is shaped by your priorities rather than pulled apart by the demands and expectations of others. As this authority strengthens, your days take on a deliberate rhythm. Your priorities act as a compass, guiding you through the noise and urgency of the outside world, helping you resist the pull of distractions and false urgencies. This clarity allows you to commit your time and energy to pursuits that have meaning, rather than scattering them across trivial obligations. With each choice, you reinforce the connection between your deepest values and your daily actions. This link grows stronger, shaping a life that is intentional, resilient, and rooted in principles you have chosen for yourself. Over time, focus transforms from a conscious discipline into a natural reflex. It becomes a shield that guards your energy from being wasted, preserves your clarity against confusion, and protects your integrity from erosion. It is a shield that is not static but alive, constantly renewed by your choices, your habits, and your commitment to mastery. This is a form of power that endures because it is not dependent on fortune, circumstance, or the approval of others. It is grounded in self-mastery, making it one of the rarest and most unshakable strengths a person can possess. Chapter 8. The strength to endure. Endurance is the active commitment to remain anchored in your principles while hardship bears down on you. It is the choice to keep moving with integrity even when the path is heavy and progress is slow. The Stoics viewed endurance as a sign that philosophy has moved beyond theory into practice. Words and beliefs hold little weight until they are tested. It is in the friction of difficulty that your values are either proven or abandoned. Endurance is the measure of that proof. It is the refusal to surrender your reason when fatigue, pain, or uncertainty push you toward rash action. This strength is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet persistence of someone who keeps their course when many would turn back. The practice of endurance is a deliberate engagement with difficulty. It is not a passive state, but an active posture toward life's inevitable struggles. You recognize that obstacles will appear in many forms: physical exhaustion, emotional strain, uncertainty about the future, and resistance from others. Each one tests the alignment between your values and your actions. By choosing to face them head-on, you turn what could weaken you into material for growth. This begins with an honest acceptance that discomfort will always have a place in life. The Stoic does not live in denial of hardship, but works to meet it without panic. In this way, endurance is not just a reaction to adversity, but a way of moving through the world with steadiness and intention. To cultivate endurance, you must train your response to difficulty before you are in the thick of it. This means building the habit of holding your course in smaller trials so that when larger challenges arrive, you have the skill to stay steady. Each time you resist the impulse to abandon a task when it becomes tedious, you are strengthening this quality. Every moment you choose to speak with calm when provoked, you are reinforcing it. The repeated practice of enduring in small matters creates a reserve of strength for greater ones. Without such preparation, the weight of major trials can feel overwhelming. But when you have trained consistently, you meet them as extensions of the same discipline. Patience is a central part of endurance. It is the ability to remain committed even when results are far away. Some challenges resolve quickly, but many stretch over long periods where progress is slow or invisible. In these times, your sense of perspective becomes essential. By understanding that life moves in cycles and that difficult seasons eventually pass, you loosen the grip of frustration. This perspective allows you to keep taking measured steps forward without collapsing under the weight for resolution. Patience also protects you from reckless choices made in haste to escape discomfort. Instead, you learn to carry your burdens in a way that preserves your energy for the long path ahead. Endurance is one of the most defining measures of a person's character because it reveals the degree to which principles remain intact under pressure. Comfort does not challenge you in ways that reveal your inner structure. It does not demand sacrifice, sustained effort, or the discipline to keep going when every instinct seeks relief. When you have faced long, demanding trials and still held firmly to your values, you have tangible evidence that you can be counted on by others and by yourself. This self-knowledge becomes an anchor. You no longer question your ability to handle the unknown because you have already demonstrated that you can withstand it. This makes you less shaken by sudden events because they no longer feel like a threat to your stability. You have faced storms before and navigated through them. You now understand that the core of your strength is not dependent on perfect conditions or a predictable path, but on your ability to keep your direction when nothing is certain. This inner certainty changes how you approach challenge and risk. You no longer enter difficult situations with hesitation rooted in fear of collapse. Instead, you move with the understanding that you can bear weight and still function. You make decisions from a position of calm observation rather than desperation. This creates a steadiness that others notice. People instinctively trust those who can remain composed when circumstances turn uncertain. That trust becomes another form of strength, reinforcing your ability to influence situations and lead by example. You also learn that your worth is not measured by comfort or ease, but by the steadiness you bring when others might falter. Over time, endurance reshapes your entire approach to challenge and difficulty. You stop viewing obstacles as disruptions that pull you away from your path and start seeing them as the path itself. Hardship becomes a built-in part of progress rather than an exception to it. You begin to understand that each trial, whether large or small, is an opportunity to strengthen your character. These moments demand patience, persistence, and emotional stability, and by meeting them with intention, you refine these qualities over and over again. Endurance is where self-control reaches its highest development. It is here that you learn to keep emotions within your command through repeated practice in holding steady when circumstances push you toward reaction. Your thinking gains clarity because you have trained yourself to reason under pressure. Your resilience deepens because exposure to difficulty has built a tolerance for discomfort, making you less fragile and less easily moved by sudden disruptions. The more often you face trials with this mindset, the more natural it becomes to maintain balance regardless of what stands before you. The challenges that once rattled your confidence begin to lose their power. Where you might have once hesitated, you now proceed with calm acceptance. You meet hardship with the same deliberate pace you would bring to any other task. This steadiness is not born of ignorance, but of experience. You have already proven to yourself that you can hold your ground. Because of this, even when events turn unpredictable or extend far longer than expected, you remain anchored. You begin to view difficulties as terrain you must cross rather than threats that can undo you. In this way, you do not simply survive hardship, you move through it with measured steps, patient observation, and purposeful action. The trials you face become like a whetstone, grinding away weakness and sharpening the edge of your discipline. They teach you to carry your weight efficiently, conserving energy for the distance ahead. A trained endurance changes more than how you feel internally. It changes how you carry yourself outwardly. People sense when you are not easily swayed by pressure or discouraged by delay. Your composure communicates reliability. It signals that you can be trusted to remain steady when conditions turn difficult. This trust becomes an unseen advantage. It draws others to rely on you in uncertain moments and allows you to influence without force. Leadership often emerges in this way, not from chasing authority, but from demonstrating an ability to stay calm when others lose their footing. Endurance, when lived consistently, becomes visible strength. The storms of life will always come, and often without warning. They will test your patience, drain your energy, and demand that you keep moving when comfort is far out of reach. Yet, when endurance is trained into the very structure of your thinking and habits, these storms cannot uproot you. They may slow your steps, but they do not redirect your path. You learn to treat them as passing conditions, like weather you must travel through. In time, this perspective removes the sense of panic that once accompanied difficulty. Instead of resisting every challenge, you work with it, knowing you have the ability to last. The Stoics valued this strength because it is lasting and dependable. It is quiet power that grows slowly and steadily over years of disciplined living. It is not tied to recognition, praise, or external reward. It is strengthened each time you choose to stay your course when it would be easier to turn away. It becomes a way of life, rooted in habit and choice, rather than bursts of willpower. This form of strength will see you through both sudden setbacks and long stretches of uncertainty. No matter the weight you must carry or the miles you must walk, you remain whole and capable of holding to your principles to the very end. Chapter 9. Freedom through responsibility. The Stoics viewed responsibility as the foundation for true independence. When you take complete ownership of your actions, words, and thoughts, you remove the conditions that keep you dependent on others. You stop looking for someone else to fix your situation or to set the standard for your behavior. You eliminate the habit of waiting for permission to act. You stop giving your energy to complaints or to blaming people and events for where you are. This way of living puts the power for change firmly in your hands. It creates a state in which your choices are deliberate, and your life becomes the result of your own direction, rather than an outcome imposed by others. Responsibility means keeping your agency where it belongs, with you. It is the refusal to hand over control of your attitude, your reactions, and your next step. It is the ability to say, "This is mine to address," without needing to point fingers. This is not a passive position. It is active engagement with life. It means being willing to correct your mistakes without dwelling on them and to adapt when conditions shift. The Stoics understood that control is not about mastering the external world, but about mastering how you navigate it. By owning your role in every situation, you keep yourself from being moved by the actions or opinions of others. This principle applies to every dimension of life. In relationships, responsibility means you decide the level of respect, patience, and care you bring. You hold yourself to a standard that is not dependent on whether others match it. In work, it means you set your pace, your effort, and your quality of output according to your values, not the lowest common denominator. In personal discipline, it means your habits and routines are shaped by your own commitments rather than the influence of convenience or pressure from others. Each time you choose responsibility, you strengthen the link between your values and your actions. When you recognize yourself as the source of your direction, you gain an unmatched advantage. You can change course without waiting for external approval. You can recover from setbacks because your authority over your life has never been surrendered. Responsibility removes the illusion that your fulfillment is tied to favorable circumstances. It reveals that your strength lies in how you respond, not in what you are given. The Stoics understood that real freedom is found in the consistent choice to act with purpose. Freedom grows when you embrace duty without hesitation and engage fully in what is within your control. This is how responsibility becomes the path to a life that is both self-directed and unshaken. Chapter 10. Living the example. The Stoic does not rely on speeches or debates to prove their values. They understand that the strongest proof of character is the life they lead. Their actions are a constant statement, visible to anyone who watches closely. This form of influence carries weight because it is rooted in evidence, not persuasion. When people see you stand composed in the middle of conflict, they recognize the presence of inner discipline. When they watch you follow through on a commitment despite obstacles, they understand that your word is tied to something deeper than convenience. Living the example is not occasional. It is a commitment that must be renewed every day. It means holding to your standards when no one else is watching. It means meeting obligations with precision, treating others with fairness, and avoiding actions that compromise your integrity. The Stoics believed that every choice, no matter how small, reflects the state of your character.